Welcome to Breaking Through Health Barriers. This is your host, Dr. Terry Wenner, bringing you wisdom, wit, and encouragement for healthy living. I'm an educator, a registered nurse, a podcaster, and a blogger, and I'm so glad you decided to listen in today. This is episode 4, where we will be discussing 3 things: healthy living on a budget, the flavored coffee creamer challenge, and the Movember movement, which focuses on men's health. So for our first part, healthy living on a budget, the first thing that pops into everyone's mind is the question, is this even possible? Can you actually make healthy living choices when you're limited on income? Well, I would have to say that yes, it is possible. Although the odds do tend to be against us at times, high-carb, prepackaged items seem to be much cheaper, and there are times in life when we can only afford to buy the least expensive things. If you take out the grocery store flyers and look at what's on sale, you will again see things that are really not favorable toward your health. What's on sale? Soda, chips, mac and cheese, heavily processed items that are high in sugar, fat, and salt, and all types of preservatives. Those are generally the things that we try to steer clear of. So, like I said, the odds do seem to be against you a little, so you might have to do a little extra work, but it is possible to make healthy food choices on a budget. There's a great website that I'm including a link to in the show notes, and it's from greatest.com. It's a health article that lists 44 foods that are both healthy and cost less than $1 per serving. So certainly that should be within most people's budgets. And in this particular article, it breaks it down into about, 6 sections, and one by one they go through examples of how you can choose low-cost, healthy items that are good for you. The first section talks about protein, and for my podcast today, I'm not going to go item by item and give you every cost. Certainly costs will vary depending on what store you're shopping in, what time of year it is, and what part of the country or world you live in. But these are generally things that you can get pretty inexpensively and that really are good choices. Canned beans, eggs, nuts, chicken, pumpkin seed, oatmeal is another one. These are all great sources of protein. The oatmeal in particular can be very filling. It can help with your, fiber intake and can really help lower cholesterol. So that's a great choice, very low cost, and you can add different things to it to kind of make it more uniquely what you like. Some people will add some dried fruit. You could add some nuts, small amounts of sweetener that can be included as well. You can even add milk. Some other sources of protein that usually you can find pretty inexpensively are canned fish, salmon, and especially tuna. There's plenty of sales on tuna, and that is a good choice as well. In the dairy section, yogurt, cottage cheese, and milk are all great choices. In the whole grain section, brown rice and whole wheat pasta. You can get a large, I forget how much they weigh, maybe a 10-pound bag of rice, pretty inexpensively, and that will feed, your whole family for many meals. So that's a good option as well. In the fruit and vegetable section, I want to make sure that you realize it doesn't absolutely have to be fresh, in-season fruit and vegetables to be worth eating. Certainly, given a choice, the local seasonal fruits and vegetables do tend to be at the peak of freshness, the highest in nutritional value, but they're not always available, and they're certainly not always the most cost-effective choices. I want to introduce you to someone that I've been recently listening to her podcast. Her name is Monica Rye-Nagel, and she is known as the Nutrition Diva. She has both a website and a podcast, and she loves to kind of clarify health myths that have to do with nutrition. And one of the things that she talked about, she had an episode on, I believe it was our seasonal fruits, better to purchase. Well, interestingly, she does, say that certainly they're going to taste great, they're going to be high in nutritional value, but depending on who the supplier is, they may not always be the best price. So when it comes to, farms, small farms are not able to produce foods as economically as large farms. So even though they might be local, they might have great products coming out that you really love, you want more of, they may not always be extremely cost effective. So if that works for you, great. Especially, if you go up and down the streets of suburbia, a lot of times you'll find people who've grown things in their own yards, very, very small farms that are willing to sell items at very low cost. I know here in Pennsylvania we have pretty much a stand on every other street of people selling fresh tomatoes, fresh cucumbers, and other seasonal items. So they are great options, but you just can't assume that they're going to be the most cost effective. I didn't include it today, but there are places online that you can check out if you're really trying to see what is in season. Certainly everyone knows that tomatoes in season are much tastier than ones that have been grown in a hothouse and really have had no sunlight. So if you can, you want to look at the seasonal trends and get things that are most available and tastiest in the particular season. The other section that we're talking about, so far we've talked about protein, dairy, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, and the last one I wanted to mention is drinks. So generally speaking, you can get coffee, tea, and water pretty cheap. So water, if you can use a filter at home, we use a Brita filter in our home, but if you can get some type of water filter in your home, you won't even need to buy bottled water at all. As a matter of fact, many of the bottled water products, there's concerns about what's in the water when it's been sitting in a plastic bottle. Maybe we'll get into that in another episode, but coffee and tea, especially when you have them plain without added sweeteners and sugars and different kinds of creamers and things like that, are really going to be most beneficial to you. They will hydrate your body without adding unnecessary things. So, those are examples of how you can make healthy choices and not have to buy tasty cakes and different types of items that are on sale but full of all kinds of preservatives and high in sugar and fats. Okay, so that was food. Those are some of the ideas on staying on a budget with food choices. But, there's more to life than eating. And one of the things I wanted to talk about next is ways that we can get inexpensive reading, listening, and viewing material. So I know I've probably mentioned this before, but the library has become my best friend lately. There's more in there than you think. There are physical books, of course, which have been around forever, it seems. But they now have audiobooks that you can loan from the library. Electronic books, such as Kindle editions and other types of download. So that is definitely an option. In addition to that, the interlibrary loan, sometimes it gets a bad rap because you don't get it's not like a Mac machine where the book pops out when you said you wanted it. There is a little delay because they do have to travel. They take the book from one location to another. But I know this past summer I have had some time to do a little extra reading and some research. And I have greatly used the interlibrary loan system. I think at one point in time I had books from 10 different libraries in our county, and those things were all free to me. The only thing I had to do is drive to the library and pay the gas money to actually pick it up. You can renew online, so you don't even have to run back to the library to renew. And when you're conveniently passing that area anyway, you can put the books back in the drop box. So in addition to the actual book material, there's lots of other things you can rent from a library or borrow from a library. Some of them have a minimal cost. This summer I was renting some videos that I was not able to get through my Netflix subscription, and I was also not able to access through, I believe we have an Amazon Prime membership right now, and I couldn't get these particular movies on either location. But for $1 a piece, I could loan them from the library for a whole week. So I took advantage of that as well. So what types of things am I thinking that you're going to get in the library? There's diet and exercise books. There's healthy living books. There's cookbooks. So, the internet is filled with recipes, but so are your libraries. They gather books on particular topics. In the summer, you can get salad-related books. Recently, I picked up a book that was on crock-pot recipes that are considered healthy. Healthy, the word healthy kind of has various connotations. Certainly, the extreme healthy person is going to be looking for all organic items that are free of pesticides. But there are variations of health. If you are used to eating highly processed things that came out of a box and went into your microwave, then just eating fresher meals that are home cooked can be a step toward better health for you. And so some of these cookbooks, you might look at them and think, wow, that particular food item doesn't seem like the healthiest thing ever. It's a lot better than that TV dinner that you might have bought that was good for 3 years in your freezer. So you have to kind of take them as they are. They may not all be perfect cookbooks, but they do have a lot of good recipes that you and your family can enjoy. So besides all the health-related material, there are lots of books that will provide humor. And de-stressing is very important. So if you find a book that you find amusing, that really helps you laugh and can relax, that's a great thing too. There's wonderful fiction stories. I'm not opposed to people reading things that are, maybe thrillers or perhaps murder related, if that's something you enjoy. So I tend to kind of steer clear of things that put me on edge because they stress me out more. But if that's something that you enjoy, go get a book that does that, or a video or something that can help you relax. So wherever your interests lie, there's something in the library for you. So don't think they're outdated. They are a wise, economical choice that can give you a lot of entertainment and a lot of knowledge and really can help you in your quest toward healthy living. In addition to the library, which is generally, extremely economical, either free or very, very low cost, there are also inexpensive options online. So I'm going to include 2 links in the show notes, but they are links to places where they advertise free or inexpensive books that are available usually on the Kindle and Nook and perhaps a couple of the other services that are out there. These 2 listservs that provide this information are known as BookBub and e-reader News Today. So I'll provide you the links for those. There's plenty of books that, as long as you look them up and take care of obtaining it during the day or 2 that they give you to do that. So some of these advertisements are only good for a day or a couple days or maybe a week. They're not good forever. So you need to kind of act promptly. But in many cases, they can be free, 99 cents, $1.99, very inexpensive books that can really help you grow. So those are 2 inexpensive options. I've been using that a lot lately to pick up items that I am interested in, but not interested in enough to be paying $15 or $20. And then also, Amazon and other online booksellers, they frequently have electronic books that are available very low cost. Usually, in many cases, you can find sections that are under $5. And why is this? Because new authors are eager to share their work. I'm working on writing a book right now. And I'm putting a lot of effort into, first of all, learning how to do it. I know how to write. I wrote a dissertation, but I haven't written a book for other people to read before. So I'm spending a lot of time learning to do that. I will spend a lot of time actually doing that. And the revision stages are extensive as well. So by the time your book actually makes it into print, you've put a whole lot of time and effort into that. So you don't want it to sit on a shelf or an electronic shelf. You want it to be out there in the hands of people that can benefit from it. I don't think anybody writes a book thinking that no one will ever read it. So authors are eager to share their work, especially new authors that are trying to get their name known. They can give away stuff or give it to you for 99 cents. Definitely well worth your investment. Okay, so now we've talked about food and we've talked about reading, listening, and viewing materials. I guess I didn't get too much into the viewing materials, but there's lots of great videos out there, everything from exercise videos to, like Walt Disney type movies, things that are family entertaining, and things that are current in the media world. So lots of great entertainment out there that's low cost as well. And then last but not least, for today, I wanted to talk about exercise videos and exercise opportunities that are low cost. So for starters, if you have internet access, you generally have access to YouTube. YouTube channels are great. I'm actually including a link in the show notes. That's from BuzzFeed.com, and it is 18 YouTube channels that you can use to help you get in shape. So if you like, following along with the videos that are on the internet, you can do that. If you don't want to follow along and you want to actually put them in your DVD players, or if any of you still have the video VHS tape players around, you can still get those very inexpensively. I know I purchase a lot of things on eBay and Amazon that are very good prices. You don't necessarily have to pay top dollar to get things. A used video might have been used by one person for one showing. Perhaps they bought it and never used it at all. So there's definitely opportunities out there to get free videos to either pop into your television set or to play on the internet. The next tip is walking. Okay, so walking is free. As long as your legs are able to carry you, you can do it in your home, at a local mall. You have kids, get the stroller out. Strollers have wheels and you can get the kids going with you. And as a matter of fact, it's a very good thing to demonstrate healthy lifestyles for your children. So, don't hire a sitter and leave them home all the time, or dump them off into the nursery area at the gym that you attend. Take them with you, put them in a stroller, take them for a walk. I have a funny story to share. My son, when he was in preschool, when I would pick him up, we'd often stop at a local park on the way home, just to kind of check it out, get some fresh air, walk around for a little bit, get a little exercise. Well, one time he actually tripped on something and landed on a rock. He hit his forehead on a rock. And, he got up pretty quickly. He didn't seem too badly injured. But the next day he had raccoon eyes, big black circles under his eyes. I started to worry if he had head trauma. Calling my pediatric nurse friends and asking them, oh my gosh, do I need to get this guy checked out? What's going on? Well, apparently if you whack your head hard enough, you'll actually have internal bleeding that is not necessarily dangerous, but will cause you to have nasty bruising on your face. The kid just, my son just definitely looked like somebody punched him in the face. And his preschool graduation pictures did have black eyes on them. So that was kind of unfortunate. But, my point is, you don't have to go far to walk. You just have to be careful when you're doing it. The other thing is free community opportunities. So the YMCA, locally here, but I'm sure all across the country, they often have free opportunities for community members, free swim times and things such as that. And you don't have to have a membership to participate. You just have to set a date and do it, So if this Saturday, this opportunity is going to be available, go for it. Plan on doing that with your family. Okay, now the next part of our time together, we're going to talk about Dr. Terry's health tip and challenge of the week. So 'tis the season for pumpkin spice coffee creamer, or frosted sugar cookie, peppermint mocha, sweet Italian cream, Girl Scout thin mints, or my personal fave, French vanilla creamer. The list goes on and on. A few weeks ago, we talked about vaping flavors, flavors of vaping materials. And today we're talking about the practically never-ending list of creamers that are available for your coffee creamers. So what I want to talk about is, you may not realize how much you're putting into your coffee cup when you splash a little bit of your favorite flavored creamers in there. So I was checking out the nutritional statistics this morning of a couple of the pretty common creamers. And for 1 tablespoon of coffee creamer, you will get a whopping 35 calories and usually 5 grams of sugar. So that in itself doesn't sound that bad. Okay, 35 calories, I can handle that. I can run up and down the stairs for a little bit and burn that off pretty easily. 5 grams of sugar, it's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But here's the catch. Do you limit yourself to 1 tablespoon? Probably not. I wrote a blog post earlier this week called Sugar Addiction, When Your Sweet Tooth Takes Control of You. I'm going to provide the link if you haven't had a chance to check that out. It's a good one. I think sugar addiction is something that we all have the potential to struggle with. But one of the main points that I made in that post was that sugar causes our dopamine levels to rise. And just like highly addictive drugs like cocaine and meth, sugar can be just as addictive. So you have a little bit and your body wants a little bit more. Hey, if 1 donut is good, 2 or 3 must be even better. Well, the same is true of coffee creamers that have high concentrations of sugar. So you have 1 cup. Hey, that was really tasty. I think I'll have another cup. The other thing is, even in 1 cup, how likely are you to stop at 1 tablespoon? I mean, how many of you get out a tablespoon measuring device and figure out how much creamer is 1 tablespoon? Usually, in my experience, what happens is you have creamer that comes in a carton, almost like a half gallon of milk would, and what happens is you start pouring it in. So you start dumping creamer in. It's way more than a tablespoon. So even if you are doing the right thing and sticking with the 1 tablespoon, if you have 3 cups, you're over 100 calories per day, even if you do stick to the serving size. If you exceed the serving size and you're having 3, 4, 5 tablespoons, can you see how quickly the calories are adding up and the sugar is adding up? And you are just doing yourself a disservice. What seems like an innocent gesture in the beginning ends up being pretty harsh on your body in the end. My husband used to tease me about how much creamer I would use. I was a big-time vanilla creamer addict for quite a few years. And he would say, do you want a little coffee with that creamer, hun? Because truthfully, I would want just as much creamer practically as coffee. I loved the sugar and I was very addicted to it and just couldn't get enough. So just like, a drug addict needing his or her next fix, I became that way with the coffee and the creamer. But eventually, I was convicted that it was time to stop. Like, I just could not keep, having so many calories in the form of coffee creamer. You don't even get to chew that. It doesn't even satisfy you in the same way that something that has a little more substance would. So I switched to 1% milk. I do admit I tried skim milk for a little while, and I couldn't tolerate it. It was just too watered down for me, and my taste buds would not adapt to that well. So I did end up going with 1% milk. And for that same tablespoon, I only have 6 calories and less than a gram of sugar, 0.8 of a gram of sugar. And so that is certainly much healthier on me. And I have not yet had a day where I've craved more milk in my coffee. Sometimes if it's strong coffee, I might want to dilute it a little, but for the most part, I never get to the point where I'm craving additional 1% milk like I was the vanilla creamer. So, the big question I'm sure you're wondering is, so does she ever drink flavored creamers today? Yes, I have not totally banned them from my life because I really feel strongly that once you start banning things, you end up with more troubles. But this is what I do. I don't buy it and I don't keep it in my house. There might be rare occasions where I'm going to have company and I want to provide it for them, but most of the time you will not find that in my house. But what I do allow myself to do is when I go out, I allow myself to have it. So there is a restaurant that we sometimes go to for breakfast, and they have single serve portions. We might go there for breakfast or brunch occasionally, and they don't always have it, but when they do have it, I allow myself to enjoy it. So if you allow yourself 2 single servings of something, you're not going to come home and indulge. It's not at home. So you have it, you're done with it, and you move on. If I'm visiting friends who have it, or if I'm at a work event that is providing flavored creamers, again, I keep myself at that 2-cup limit, and will only have that much, but it keeps me from feeling deprived, but I don't have it in my home, so I'm not having it on a regular basis. The single serve portions really make it so that you can't overdo it. So the challenge for you is to evaluate your creamer situation. Are you feeding your sugar addiction and having too many calories in your coffee cup? If so, switching to low-fat milk or even choosing to have plain black coffee might be a better option. For me, the coffee was much more important than the creamer, and I will tell you, your taste buds will adapt if you give it a little bit of time. But you have to make a decision that it's not a healthy choice for you and then stick with it. Okay, and for our next part, we're going to talk about the Movember movement. So this topic is being presented today in response to one of my male listeners' recommendations. And it is very timely, as the month of November is a very important month for this movement. And I do want to invite you, if you have topics that you would like me to dig into, just use the contact form on my website, drterrywenner.com, and let me know. I'm pretty much willing to explore just about any topic that you might be interested in hearing more about. So back to the Movember movement. The Movember movement started in Australia in 2003 with 30 men. Now it's in its 14th year and has grown to be a truly global organization. It has received support from over 5 million Mo Bros and Mo Sisters around the world. So, both men and women are able to contribute in this particular organization, and so we all have the possibility of participating. So, Movember's success can be largely attributed to the strength of the global community. Regardless of what city you live in, you're participating in something bigger, something that's united to help change the face of men's health. And so this particular movement focuses on raising awareness, prevention, treatment, and cures for 4 basic areas of men's health: prostate cancer, testicular cancer, mental health, and suicide prevention. So all wonderful things to invest your time and resources in. Now, during the month of November, the Movember movement challenges men to grow out and groom their mustaches to raise awareness. You can sign up on their website. It's a international organization and serves several countries, so you will want to make sure you're in the right country's website. For the U.S., you'll go to us.movember.com, but various website variations are available depending on where you live. And when you go there and sign up, you can do the actual mustache challenge. But a second way you can participate is to take the Move challenge. And so during the month of November, you will challenge yourself to move in new ways. So sometimes people might decide they want to run a race, learn to rock climb, work out in costume, try something new, beat your own personal best efforts, and do that and raise funds for men's health in the process. And last but not least, the third way to participate is to raise funds and encourage others to participate. And at their website, they give you links that you can get resources to do this. You could do it at work, your community, or even on a college campus. So those are options for you to participate with the Movember movement. I'm sorry, I keep slipping up with that. I do want to take a moment, though, to clear something up. So I have heard of something called No Shave November, and I thought initially when I heard of the Movember movement, that's what they were talking about. But actually, this involves a different nonprofit organization, and they actually allow men to grow much more facial hair than just a mustache. So this is an opportunity to participate with a group that also is growing in cancer awareness and raising funds to support cancer prevention, research, and education. However, what they do for this organization is in November, men are encouraged to skip shaving and grooming for 30 days. So in essence, they increase their facial hair. Now, they do have a caveat. If your employer will not allow this, you are allowed to groom your beard so that you don't look like somebody who's just kind of been on the loose for years and years and hasn't showered or shaved or anything for quite a long time. But the goal of the No Shave November is to grow awareness by embracing your hair. And the reason they chose this is because many times cancer patients lose their hair. So by allowing it to grow wild and free, we are focusing on cancer prevention. You can also donate money, and of course that's encouraged to provide funds for research, but it helps to raise awareness and prevention and aid those fighting the battle. So I encourage you to check out one or both of those organizations. I will include the link to both of them on the show notes. No Shave November can be found at no-shave.org. And I already mentioned the Movember one. So great causes, great awareness for men's health, and certainly things that are worth participating in. So wrapping it up here, my reflection questions for you this week are: have you been using too much coffee creamer and therefore increasing your calorie and sugar intake in a way that negatively affects your health? If so, consider an adjustment in your creamer consumption. And secondly, have you ever participated in the Movember movement or No Shave November? And if not, are you planning to participate this year? Definitely good causes, and we'd like to hear more from you about that. So please take a moment to comment on the comment section on the webpage following this podcast. Fellow listeners and myself would just love to hear more about your healthy habits and your struggles too. And speaking of struggles, I did want to follow up. I told you 2 weeks ago on my October 8th podcast number 3 that I would be embracing the Moving More challenge and doing 3 things that were going to try to improve my calorie burn, right? Increasing my calorie burn. So this is how I did. I did much better with trying to achieve the 10 hours with 250 steps or more by using my Fitbit. One day, I even hit all 12 hours of the day that I record. And if you're interested in checking it out, I posted a screenshot on Instagram for proof that I actually hit 12. But I have to say, I didn't hit the 10 every day. It's really challenging. I get involved in writing or some project, and I just will lose my train of thought if I stop. So it is not quite as easy as I thought. I have to keep working on that one. The other one that I was going to do is stop ignoring my awareness app on my computer, and it alerts me when I've been sitting for more than an hour. Again, I did see improvement in this area, but I still could do better, so I'm going to keep working on that one. And then the last thing I said that I was going to give a try was doing 20 push-ups every time I came upstairs from my basement. So I did pretty good with this, but I ran into 2 problems. First of all, I found out I go downstairs much more than I thought. So, I didn't think that I should be doing push-ups necessarily every time. So I decided to shoot for twice a day rather than every time. And, so the majority of days I was able to do 20 push-ups twice. However, I also decided to do a arm workout at the gym, and I hadn't done an arm workout at the gym in a while. So when you use weights and different machines, you kind of push yourself a little bit more. Well, I ended up to the point where I could barely move my arms the next 2 days. So I did have to kind of lighten up on my push-ups during those next 2 days as I recuperated a little bit. But I did pick it back up again once I was able to heal a bit. So, some wrenches kind of got thrown in there, but overall I think that I made some good efforts, burned some extra calories, and it was well worth it. So how did you do? Did anyone out there take up my challenge and try to set themselves some new goals for the week? If you did, I'd love to hear more about how that went for you. If not, no worries. You can start a challenge anytime, and maybe this coming week will be your week. So I'd appreciate it, if you haven't done so already, if you could take a few minutes to leave me an honest review on iTunes, if you're an iTunes user. As I mentioned before, with a new podcast, the best advertising is word of mouth, and the written reviews really help with that. You can also share my blog posts or podcast links from my website on Facebook or Twitter and let other people know about that. On Facebook, if you share the link, that actually will help get the word out more so than just liking a link. You can also continue to support me by using my Amazon affiliate link for your shopping. There's a link on the right-hand side of my screen that you can click on that, and that'll help benefit my efforts as well. And just wrapping it up, this is Dr. Terry Wenner. Together, we're going to break through as many health barriers as possible and live happier, healthier lives. Until next time, enjoy some wonderful days.